All right. Well, I'm here with Miss Burkina Faso and Miss Africa, which is excellent. Thank you so much for joining us, Georgie.
Thank you so much for having me, Kristin.
So to start, can you tell me about your foundation and the work that you're doing in Africa?
Absolutely. So about the Georgie Badiel Foundation, I founded the organization in 2015. And one of the reasons that actually inspired me to start the organization is that as an African woman, I used to walk 3 hours to fetch water with my grandmother and cousin girls. Fetching water wasn't something that I like. I'm not a morning person. So every morning when my grandmother was coming at the door, she would knock at the door, she was, Georgie, let's go get the water. And all my thinking was like, why is so early? And why is the water far? Why is the water not near? Why? Where is that water, basically? It didn't really make sense to me as a child because water is just so basic, right? It's basic human right. Everybody should have access to it. I was blessed to become Miss Burkina Faso in 2003. Following that, I went to Miss Africa, and God blessed me to become Miss Africa. Following that, I went to Paris to start an international modeling career. And living in Paris was amazing. I have a great time being in Paris. I could take bubble bath anytime I want. I could flush my toilet. I can even play flushing my toilet. Don't do that. Don't do it. But I mean that I have plenty of water available to me without even thinking of water scarcity. Back in 2009, my sister told me that she was having a baby and that was a great news. So I wanted to go home to welcome the baby and celebrate. Well, back home, I have to watch my sister waking up between 2 a.m. and 4 a.m. to get water. That is when I completely knew basically nothing has changed.
Yeah.
You know, when we were a kid, we used to do that. Now we're women. My sister have to do that. I thought that it was very important for me to use my platform, right? Because I don't see myself as a better person than anyone that I grew up with, right? But God has blessed me so much. He's giving me that platform. So why don't I use it?
So the thing that we've talked about before is that in your home country where your foundation is having the biggest impact, there's been a lot of unrest in the country. How does that impact the work that you're doing with bringing clean water to everyone?
Yes. So the Georgie Badiel Foundation has joined forces with New the Impact so that we can end the water crisis in Burkina Faso. We elaborated a plan to bring clean water to every person in rural Burkina Faso. And at this time, we created this project called the Oasis, which is basically a community place where the community gather together to access clean drinking water, to have access to food and toilet and sanitation, also electricity. Right? Because when I was a kid, unfortunately, there were times that we didn't have light. In the village, there's no light. No light. So for you to study, back in the days, my mom used to use, the old school Game of Thrones, petroleum.
Like an
light.
oil.
Yeah, like an oil light.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, we used to use that and, study with that. And when the petroleum is completely finished, if there is a candle, she would light a candle for us. And unfortunately, if you're not done with your own work, you're going to actually go outside and use the moonlight to study.
Wow.
Yes.
And how many times did you have to do that?
Well, that's every day.
Every day. Okay.
That's every day during my childhood. And so it was very important for me to create something that basically answer most of the problem of the community. Access to clean drinking water, food security, toilet and sanitation, access to electricity. We even have outlet on our Oasis where people can charge the device. Yes.
Oh, wow. And how many oases do you have?
So far, we have built 10 oases.
Okay.
And what we actually do to actually sustain our oasis is that every time one person come to get water, they gave us the sum of 0.016 cents,
Okay.
which is basically almost nothing. The funds are used to actually maintain the water system, because our goal is to make sure that water is uninterrupted in these communities, and that everyone have access to clean water, just like I have in Paris and now living in America. So that's the dream. That's the dream.
Amazing. And speaking of funds, can you talk to me a little bit about how impact investing and ESG funds from around the world are also helping to contribute to the foundation?
Yes, absolutely. So, one of the new the impact of portfolio, there is the SDG 6, water and sanitation. So anyone that come in and invest in that portfolio, a percentage of the profit comes into the Georgie Badiel Foundation, which is used to build this water system, such as the complete oasis for communities in Burkina Faso. But this is a new project that we've been piloting, and it's been very much, I would say, promising.
Talk to me about the state of being an entrepreneur here as a woman in Africa, and what can be done to help promote more of that?
Oh, thank you. I would say that, again, when we go back, GBF has built also this program called Loan and Grant into a program, so that any funders that comes in that can actually give us a full grant to build an oasis. They have the option. The oasis is 20,000. They can give us 4,000 in grant, and then 16,000 in loans, and the community would basically pay back through the 0.016 cents that is collected at every oasis.
Last question for you here. What is your biggest piece of advice for young women entrepreneurs like yourself? What would you tell them?
Oh, I would tell them that it's definitely not easy to be an entrepreneur. It's not easy. Sometimes I feel like it's much easier to actually get a normal job, right? 8 to 5, that's easy, right? But if that's what you want, if you want the easy part of it, then you go for it. But now, if you have a dream that you want to achieve, you're going to have to work harder for, and it's not going to be easy, but you can achieve it.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Georgie. Thanks for being here.